Well, hello and welcome to Talk Time. And today we're going to be taking a look at many things. We'll probably be looking at the trade fair which is opened in Ghana. We'll be looking at trade in the West Africa sub-region and other related issues. You're welcome to Talk Time.
What's wrong?
They took all my precious stuff.
Did they harm you?
Just when they were about to, they hit the siren and bolted.
Scout the area. You don't have security cameras?
They stole everything.
I thought you used ghost cameras from security
warehouse?
Yes, you should. They couldn't have gotten away the way they did without either being electrocuted or being caught on a CCTV camera.
Well, hello and welcome back to Talk Time. As indicated from the very beginning, today we are taking a look at the trade fair, which is opened in Accra, trade within the West African sub-region, and many other related issues. We'll probably be looking at how good or bad it is to be doing business in our brotherly and sisterly country of Nigeria. We are particularly privileged today to have with us in the studio a very, very prominent person who is involved in all of these discussions already, Mr. Olusegun Awolowo, who is the chairperson of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Yes, nice to meet you.
First of all, what brings you to Accra?
The trade fair. The Ghana Trade Fair. It's a very important one in Africa and also for Nigerians. Ghana is our biggest trading partner in West Africa. So it's a market and a partnership we do take very seriously.
And what about the trade fair is so important? I mean, this is just collection of pavilions with goods. I mean, what about it is so important?
No, well, it's not. It's more like a buyer's market and a seller's fair, because you see buyers come from all over the world. They come to see what you are also producing, what you've been able to achieve in terms of processing, and the young entrepreneurs. It's very important for them. That is where they get the business to business end of the meeting. You get interest. It doesn't necessarily translate to sales immediately, but it opens up the opportunities.
And what are you expecting from Ghana?
From Ghana, what we're expecting, well, to sell more formally, because, you know, trade in West Africa, the challenge we have is how to formalize the trade, because the figures we get from direct formal trade is not very encouraging, but we know is a lot more than that. You just have to go at our border points and you see the movements. But the next focus on trade is going to be on mainly young entrepreneurs, and they are using technology to drive their trade. They are selling on Instagram, on Facebook, and all that. So that will formalize it a bit more. But in terms of a trade like this is where the manufacturers also come to play. You know, they bring what they're manufacturing, and you can see what Ghana is manufacturing. Ghana showcases it to the world, and we also buy in. We have a lot of buyers also from Nigeria who come and see, oh, Ghana is already processing this, oh, let's buy it, we can sell it in Nigeria, we can take it to London to sell, etc., etc. So it's a very vibrant business pavilion-like between sellers and buyers.
What has Nigeria got to sell?
Nigeria has got everything to sell.
Beyond oil?
beyond oil. It's good you said that. You know, the cause of Africa has been really our inability to industrialize, and we just keep selling raw materials. So for the last 4-5 years in Nigeria, we've been pursuing what we call our National Industrial Revolution Plan. Mm-hmm. The idea is to industrialize Nigeria and stop selling raw materials or reduce it completely. And when you look at that, also Ghana is also, well, maybe guilty of that. Cocoa. Mm-hmm. We sell, you know, the entire cocoa market that we are fighting for in Africa. I think the value is about $6 billion or $7 billion. But when it gets to Europe, it's processed, it becomes a $80 billion market, mm-hmm. chocolate market, mm-hmm. and we are not there. Cote d'Ivoire producing almost 2 million metric tons, Ghana edging to 1 million metric tons, Nigeria, we are struggling now to get to 500,000 metric tons. But that is not where the money is. So what is wrong with Africa? You know, why are we not mm-hmm. selling our chocolate? So we in the NEPC, what we have is what we call the zero oil plan. And the plan is saying that Nigeria can and must survive in a world economy in which she no longer sells oil. Now that sounds very ambitious, very audacious, but when oil prices fell below $40, mm-hmm. we knew we had to be ambitious and audacious. Mm-hmm. We identified 22 various products, sectors where we feel Nigeria can compete, you know, and raise productivity and sell more to the world. So that is what we are pursuing in Nigeria. I'm glad.
So what are the specific products? Mm-hmm. What is it that Nigeria has to offer for sale?
Okay, what we did, we categorized them on the category A and category B. I'll give you some quick examples. Petrochemicals, we're a petrol economy, mm-hmm. and yet the petrochemicals market and business is $150 billion globally annually. Nigeria is not there because we're importing. Mm-hmm. We import petrochemicals. We sell our crude oil and we import petrochemicals. Mm-hmm. Our refineries are not stream. So, but now with the zero oil plan and what we are putting to the nation, we have Dangote, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, who is now building a big petrochemical plant mm-hmm. in Lagos. Mm-hmm. And so that is one step. So from there, we will start to produce all the crude oil, refine, produce, and then we'll start to sell. And we'll get into the export market. Mm-hmm. You know, cocoa is also a sad story for us as well. And so the plan, raise production, increase productivity, then process, and introduce the Nigerian chocolate, even if our generation has probably missed it. But the next generation, the younger generation coming up, should be able to, you know, appreciate Ghana chocolate, Nigerian chocolate, and not, you know, chocolate from outside. On the other aspects, I'll take cement, clinkers. That's another one we're developing. It's under category B. Mm-hmm. And also with Dangote keen into that, we moved from being a net importer of cement. We're now exporting cement. And just last week, he was telling us that the value from next year will be about $600 million in cement exportation only. So that is, we're doing that on a whole range of products. Develop it, you know, work on the standards, because one of the challenges we have, and it's not only Nigeria, African countries, is meeting the standards, because then we get trapped with non-tariff barriers. They don't say you can't bring it, but suddenly it's rejected because of your standards. But that is to be expected, because for years we've exported raw materials. So the move into getting, you know, our products processed there, labeled, package properly here and then export is a challenge, but we must get into it and move with it. So those are some of the things we're doing and we're going through, and I'm glad, you know, Ghana is also looking at it, and I must say before I leave, I must just congratulate Ghana as well, because at the last WTPO, that's the World Trade Promotion Organization Awards, it's organized by the International Trade Center in Geneva. Ghana won an award for I think it was on ICT, and we won an award also for our training program on export. So me and Afua, the head of the Ghana Trade Promotion Agency, we received our awards, and it was good for Africa that we received it. And I think next year Ghana is going to be hosting the World Trade Promotion Organization meeting and awards next year.
What are the kinds of things that you probably expect also to buy from Ghana? Now we're talking about what you do in Nigeria and probably export to other countries. What are you expecting to buy from Ghana?
We have a whole list of what we are already buying from Ghana, and the trade figures, the 2017 I think we were about was a trade surplus in favor of Nigeria. We exported some $200 million, and we bought about some $56 million from also around that figure from Ghana. That's what we have. But again and again, the way it is with Ghana and Nigeria, it's a broader relationship, and with the travel that connects us. You know, we have many flights coming into Ghana daily, not to talk of the traffic on the road. So there's a lot of, particularly with the young entrepreneurs, you know, they're buying things. Some are processing in Ghana, selling in Nigeria, and so we have a whole. There's a very good trade relationship between the two countries. And in Africa, we're the biggest. In West Africa, we're the biggest. We speak the same language, English, of course, even though we're surrounded by the francophone African countries, but it's always Nigeria and Ghana.
Okay, well, viewers, we are talking to Mr. Olusegun Awolowo, who is chairperson of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, who is currently here to participate in the Ghana Trade Fair. We want to take a short break, and when we come back, I'd like to ask a very simple question. Petrochemicals, chocolate, and so on, it doesn't appear to be the big movers in trade in the world. So how is that? So short break, you know.
Yes, Dad. Everything has been installed. Yes. Okay. I will be fine, Dad.
Yeah, but this debate tonight.
Tell you guys to keep long, go do the far job. Charlie high tech.
She the lie bad go happen tonight. This are no fence.
They couldn't get in this time.
How come?
Security warehouse.
Smart choice.
I guess you have some footage for me there. Crystal clear picture. Pause. I think I know this man. He has a long history with robbery and rape. You are fortunate to have equipped your house with gadgets from Security Warehouse. Call it in. We'll begin the investigation from here.
Control, come over.
Well, hello, welcome back. We are privileged to be talking to somebody who is interested in the integration of our sub-region, who is working so hard to promote trade between Ghana, Nigeria, and other countries. We are talking to Mr. Olusegun Awolowo, who is chairperson of the Export Promotion Council of Nigeria. Now, sir, so far we are talking about chocolates. We are talking about petrochemicals. And So, I mean, the world appears to be driven by, you know, the sale of technology, you know, rather than
export of services.
yeah. And so,
service
so how come
oriented.
that in West Africa we're looking at chocolates and petrochemicals and so on?
No, it's also good to look at the big money spinners, of course, and those are you look at where you have comparative and competitive advantage. And the reason I mentioned cocoa and chocolate was because, of course, cocoa is where Ghana has a very high comparative and indeed competitive advantage, and Ghana is even ahead, you know, of us, Nigeria, in chocolate production, in getting into processing and all that. So that's why I mentioned that. But then you cannot discount IT and export of services. For example, you know, the banking industry, the film industry, which we are also very big, and that is also a very big one we're exporting to Ghana. The music industry, which is huge, and you see the collaboration with Ghana and Nigerian music. You know, they are the ones really dominating it in Africa, which is good. So, but how do you now work to get those in your export figures, in your trade figures? Because it's still very lucid, it's very out there, and that's the work we must continue to do. And like I tell you, what we are doing with the ITC, the International Trade Center in Geneva, is especially working on this. We worked on we're working on a paper now from the Commonwealth on export of services, how to capture that. It's very big for us. We look at you know, how we should really do trade in Africa, particularly in West Africa, is and ITC have developed it for us. It's what they call their export potential trade map. You know, just Google and get on it. And the way you look at it, what is Ghana importing from the rest of the world? Why can't they just get it next door from Nigeria? And the reason I'm saying petrochemicals, that's where our forte, our strength lies. Fertilizer and urea. So when we're able to produce that, Ghana does not have to import that from far away when you can get it next door. And the same with Nigeria. You know, Ghana will look at what is Nigeria importing from the rest of the world, and then get it into their trade policy to produce it. Where any area where you have added advantage, and suddenly we're looking at for Ghana, fertilizer, urea, tissue, toilet paper, cement, of course, palm oil, and all these fractions, because we are big in palm oil. Insecticides, that's also part of petrochemicals, of course. Plastics, you know, these are all the things that Ghana does not need to import from the rest of the world, but buy from Nigeria. And then Ghana also looks at what Nigeria is importing from the rest of the world, and say, hey, we can do it for you here. Why go across? Because at least the shipment and the movement is not so bad as from China and the rest of the world.
Now, all of this, how would it be affected by the economic partnership agreement with the European Union?
Okay.
How can it have any impact?
Well, the impact is having. We did not sign that. Nigeria did not sign. Ghana, of course, signed, and well, Ghana had to sign for reasons, particularly in cocoa. So because with that they had some added advantage on the cocoa price for them. We didn't sign the EPA because we felt we were not yet ready for that. But what is now happening is that we're now looking at the Inter-Africa Trade Agreement, Free Trade Agreement, which is what we are studying very hard. Again, we haven't signed in it, but I think it's going to happen very soon, because we had to look at it and talk to our industrialists, the whole business sector in Nigeria to see how, because we didn't want to sign a lose-lose agreement. It has to be a win-win for all of us. But we are looking forward to it because we know that we open trade for the whole of Africa. So that's bigger than EPA for us. Of course, it goes bigger than ECOWAS now because you have the whole African continent as a trading bloc where you can sell. And I always say, you know, I'm a firm believer in it, that everything Africa needs is in Africa.
What did Nigeria find particularly problematic with EPA?
The problematic was with the issue of processed goods industry, really, because we felt we were at a very big disadvantage, and the European countries, and if they're going to start putting all their things, then our own cannot compete. Yeah, but having said that, when you now look at the big picture of the African inter-African free trade area, then you say, look, we must get ready for it. You know, we must make ourselves competitive enough to attract this trade all around Africa, and we must work together. You know, the factories can be in Nigeria owned by Ghanaian, it can be in Ghana owned by Nigerian, and all that. You just look at the level and the field where you can trade and where you can invest, and then business will boom.
There's been a lot of talk about common currency for West Africa.
West Africa, yeah.
Would that assist in boosting trade among West African
I
countries?
certainly believe it will. You know, the problem, I say it, ECOWAS has been very slow. I say it everywhere to the ambassadors and everyone. We've been very, very slow in integrating West Africa. Because if we had moved very fast, all these things would be a thing of the past. You still have people trying to trade, and they cannot change their currency, and you know it's very difficult to do it. I know the Afri-Exim is working on a process now to alleviate that and help that. Also, in terms of infrastructure, you know, we haven't. You know, why don't we have a Lagos to Accra going to Cote d'Ivoire rail things that can move goods, and why don't we have the road ready that we can fly, we can travel, and you know, connecting in Africa is difficult. It's easier to go to Paris than for me to get to Togo sometimes, and even Benin just next door. It's almost crazy that why is Africa, why are we like this? Why have we not recognized those? You know, recently President Macron was in Lagos, and he was asking me a very question that why that you are surrounded by francophone countries. Your goods, you know, do you even label it in French? And for me that was, oh my God, yeah.
Forget Macron, we should be labeling our goods in Yoruba.
No, I'm just saying no. Yes, we should, but we don't speak those language. Yeah. But I'm talking about Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Benin. It's French, you know. But how do we even get our goods to them? And the Chinese, because they're very fast, they do their labeling and is already in French for you, and they come and dump it there. So we must just get ECOWAS. Hasn't been very successful, you know, good in peace and keeping the countries peaceful together and everything, but in terms of trade, in terms of infrastructure, we're lagging behind, and you can see it in the EU with Brexit, and that's why it's so difficult to break. Because of the interconnectivity that is already there, it's very difficult to break, and that's what we should try and do with the Inter-Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Why has the emergence of a common currency been such a difficult thing for West Africa?
I find it
Would you, for
difficult.
example, dismiss, the influence of the ex-colonies?
You cannot take that. But I think, look, when we get really serious, and I think by the time we also sign, everybody signs on the Inter-Africa Free Trade Continental Area, I think a lot of these things will start to come in play and change. That we need a currency to drive this. We need easier banking access in all. We must re-examine all our protocols, particularly trade protocols beyond all our countries, so we can trade better. And I think it's the young entrepreneurs really that are coming up that are really going to push this, because they're going to be trading anyway. They're going to be trading with themselves. They're going to be forming partnerships all across. If you are not careful, you won't even know about it, because if you don't catch them on social media, they sell on Instagram, for example, and they move their goods to each other. They form partnerships. So they are really going to be the young entrepreneurs that are going to drive, and they are not interested in raw materials. They're looking for finished good, like we said before, export of services. How do I sell my movie? How do I sell my music in Tanzania? How do I sell my sesame seeds, my sesame paste that is now a cream? How do I sell it in Morocco? How do I? That's what this next young generation of entrepreneurs are really looking at, and I think we're going to benefit a lot from them.
By the way, how many Nigerian entities are participating in this trade fair? And what is the extent of their participation?
Oh, the extent have always been big. We have the big companies. We leave them to come on their own. The big companies come out. We try and encourage the SMEs. Those are the ones, the small and medium scale companies, and the MSMEs. Those are the ones we try and help and facilitate their coming here. We get the pavilion, we pay for the booths, and we put them there so to encourage them, and also see what their contemporaries are doing from all across Africa, so they can learn and benefit from it.
The trade fair has been only just a few days.
Yeah.
Your assessment, sir?
No, I'm just. I came here first.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm going there now.
You're going there now.
But my people have been there.
We'd like to know what you see and your assessment of what is happening.
I will.
Well, viewers, we're going to go for another short break, and when we come back, I'd like to focus a little attention on some of the impediments. What are some of the impediments? For example, the security situation in the sub-region.
Yeah.
How does it impede meaningful trade between states and so on? Short break.
Hello, good morning, madam. I just parked my car and I think it's been stolen.
Oh, really? Then please hold on. Let me check the location for you. I'll get back to you, Sensei.
Thank you, Global Trackers. With Global Trackers, all your assets are safe. Call them now on 0246 320 860. 0246 320 860.
Well, hello and welcome back to Talk Time. And today we are particularly privileged to have with us the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Mr. Olusegun Awolowo, who is in Accra to participate in the trade fair. We're talking about many things. We're talking about trade amongst or between West African states, and we are talking about the potential, whether it exists or not. We now like to move on to something else. Impediments. What are the main impediments to trade within the West African sub-region?
Okay. The first one I must talk about is the ECOWAS free trade liberalization scheme, which I think is too bogged by bureaucratic protocol. So it's really, for instance, for you to register, it takes over 6 months. That's just because I want to register my company to export on the ETLS to Ghana. So we need to really work on that. Our trade has been dwindling for years now, and in the last 3 years, it's really getting to the lowest it has been. Why? Because of informal trade. Most people are not trading formally. Yeah, because of all you mentioned. I'll tell you some of the challenges. Yes, of course, we still try and do protectionism in our local industry. All countries try and do that. And then you have high and discriminatory tariffs imposed on goods as a major challenge. Transportation I've mentioned. You know, we can't even ship goods from Lagos to Accra. And even when you look at the water thing, it's almost easy if you look at it like that. But there are no shipping lines that does that. Probably your goods have to go to Belgium first before it comes to Accra. It doesn't make sense. So they've been talking about ECOWAS, also the Afrexim Bank and Nexim Bank. That's our own Nigeria Export Import Bank. They've been talking about this Seed-Link program, which hasn't come to fruition. You know, that we must have our own shipping lines that just take goods across for us, because then it's easier, and then it gets to the port, then you can track it. Then it's formal trade. Yeah, but then again, we talk about the bad infrastructure, the roads, and then the excessive border check in our countries along the road. Then talked about the long process of registration for the ETLS. It's an headache, you know. So all these, you know, these challenges and these impediments only make it attractive for informal trade and smuggling, which is what we have to fight against. And one of the ways of we work with the chambers, and we have a bilateral commission to Nigeria and Ghana that looks at this issues of trade, where we can, if we impose some tariffs, then Ghana will challenge it. Now you can't do this to us. Why are we doing this and that? So we need to do more, talk more, and particularly form more, so get our chambers of commerce and industry in the two countries to integrate better, talk more, you know, have more meetings, and so that, because those are the practitioners doing the business. So when they are together, always in the same room, then it's easy. They're able to tell government, look, government, this is wrong. You can't do this. It doesn't help our business, you know. And so I think we should do that, so we're able to use that to exploit our potentials the more.
What about the security situation in the region? I mean, especially in Nigeria, where you have Boko Haram,
yes.
you have the Niger Delta rebels. The situation in the Cameroon is not very attractive at all. What about the security arrangement in the region?
Well, I'm glad the African leaders are looking at that and talking very firmly on that. Our own president, that was really one of his core major programs, is dealing with the Boko Haram crisis there in Nigeria, and I think with a lot of success. Then it became ISIS, the international one, trying to have a foothold in Nigeria. So that's the next challenge and struggle which the country is battling. But is doing it with his West African brothers, and the co-president, the presidents in West Africa, everybody, they have their security meeting and they're looking at it. So it helps. They share intelligence, share information, so they're able to work on it better. I think it's, of course, it never goes well, bodes well for trade or business when who will come and invest when there are bombs flying about in your country. So they're working on it, and I think those are the areas where I say ECOWAS has been good. When they get together in their meetings, they meet the security challenges, etc., assist each other, that even their elections don't get violent and all that. I think it has been extremely successful. The next step is to raise trade.
Now, sir, what do you think will be the impact of Brexit, the exit of Britain from the European Union, on especially English-speaking West Africa?
I would say the Commonwealth countries. And this is what even the UK has realized. And if you can see that we had a study done for us by the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth Secretariat in UK, and they had done one for India, and so did one for Nigeria on the challenges of the exit, Brexit will do to trade. And we think it's also a very good opportunity. For us in Nigeria, for instance, we didn't sign the EPA. Yeah, now Britain is out of it. So it doesn't affect us anymore with that not signing. Yes, when you look at it like that. But the UK has realized.
Is in deep trouble.
No, Ghana will get out of it.
Ghana is in deep trouble.
They will.
It's major trading partner.
It's major trading partner.
Made a lot of concessions or assumptions, which no longer exist.
Well, then you see in trade agreements, you tweak it and you retweak it every day, and you look at what you can do now. So what we are looking at, and the UK is also looking at, they're now saying, oh, let's go back to our traditional trading partners. Let's go back to the Commonwealth, and they're looking at the Commonwealth countries now.
As bad as the EU.
Pardon?
As bad as the EU.
Well, no, they're looking now in terms of working with what we set to be our goal. The African Union has said industrialization for Africa. You have the 2063 program, and that's what the African Union is tasking African countries to work on, because we just must industrialize. And so now all our trade, and we look at our trade agreements and everything, has to go along that line, along industrialization. It's no longer just exploiting diamonds, exploiting cocoa, exploiting this, and we are selling it now. We think we are rich, but like I tell you, we are really not rich. We sell, we're the highest cocoa producer in the world. And so what else? The man that you sell it to is making maybe 100 times more on the chocolate, and they don't even know
they're developing synthetic cocoa.
So that's how we just must. The goal is to industrialize, more manufacturing, industrialize, move away from raw materials, and start selling the processed ones.
So thank you very much for
coming. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, we've been talking to somebody who knows his stuff, who is here to participate in Ghana's International Trade Fair, and who is promoting linkages between our countries and so on. We've been privileged to be talking to Mr. Olusegun Awolowo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Hope all of us have learnt a thing or two, and the discussion will continue from here. As always, I would please urge you to keep your dial on Pan-African television, because we give you the best in sports, best in entertainment, best in news, indeed, best in everything. See you again pretty soon. Bye-bye from all of us from Pan-African television, including the director of the show, Daryl. Goodbye.
Là, comme je suis assis là, tout le monde, ça c'est le moment qu'on a choisi pour dire on veut la joie de vivre. Angélique Kidjo.